Good morning, everybody. Natalie coming to you live. Spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. Yum, yum, yum. So good, so good, so good. Okay, let's get started. So I hope everybody had a fantastical weekend, and I hope that you guys got everything that you needed to get done. I will have you know that I could not do anything. I was not moving this weekend at all because of menstruation. So there you go. Women, we have it so much harder than these men will ever understand. Um, but my cramps and menstruation kept me out for the count all weekend long. But I did something like rest and work on my goals and that kind of stuff. And I was told that I don't know how to rest. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Baldonado Bestie. Um, which is kind of funny because I guess I thought, good morning, Danielle. I guess that I thought resting meant like just staying home and then good morning, Jeff. That's what I thought. I thought I was like, oh, I'm just, stay good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Ellie. So, yeah, I thought that it would just meant, stay home and don't do anything, but it's apparently you're supposed to rest and stay in bed, but that's not me. So, even though I was out for the count, I didn't do much of anything. I still did a lot of something. So I guess we need to relearn how to relax, or I do, apparently. Okay, so let's get started. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. As you know, we've been talking about the smoky mirrors, about how we are programmed. And I love that because that is actually the basis for everything that I sort of talk about all the time is the fact that we are programmed. We're like organic robots, is what they have said. And they program what's right, wrong, good, or bad. And we live by these particular ways of being that have been programmed to us by our parents, by the people around us, and also by TV. So before TV came along, and there are probably still people on this planet who remember life before TV, we're programmed by their parents, their grandparents, and then the community, right? So they would say it takes a village to raise a child. And really, what they were doing is they were trying to program you into a desired outcome, a certain belief, okay, of how they wanted you to be. Now, the programming, some good, some maybe not so good. Some serves us, some maybe doesn't serve us. So that's really what we need to ask ourselves at the end of the day. Is this programming serving me or not? There's nothing wrong with being programmed. It's just recognizing and realizing that we are programmed. Okay. And when we understand that, we can ask what program is running us. Now, we can say this too, is kind of funny. I kind of say sometimes, good morning, Jose Luis. I haven't seen you in a while. And good morning, those on Podbean as well. Thank you for showing up. Um, is what I used to say is like some people need a software upgrade because they're living in old paradigms, old ways of looking at the world. And we get to reshape the way that we see the world. So our perception will shape the way we see the world, and that changes over time. And so new laws, new ways of engaging the world that we perceive around us start to happen. Okay, my Facebook is going crazy with friend requests all of a sudden. It's kind of crazy. I don't know what happened. It's like there's a trigger button that goes off or something. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start reading. So all our normal tendencies are lost in the process of domestication, and and when we are old enough for our mind to understand, we learn the word no. The adults say, "Don't do this" or "Don't do that." We rebel and say no. We rebel because we are defending our freedom. We want to be ourselves, but we are very little. And the adults are so big and strong. After a certain time, we're afraid because we know that every time we do something wrong, we're going to be punished. And so this is where punishment comes in, punishment and reward. And both punishment and reward are a fear system, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm fear that I'm not going to get a reward if I don't do good. or a fear of, oh my God, I'm going to get punished if I do bad or if I don't do good, right? So again, it's a fear-based system. And not right, wrong, good, or bad. I don't want you guys to think that any of this is right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just is. And the reality is the sooner that we, good morning, Vin, that we can open our eyes and recognize, okay, and understand and recognize, right, that we are programmed and that these laws were given to us. We didn't come into this planet knowing these things, okay? We came into this planet and we were told that we had to do these things. It was already here. So it was existing before we ever dropped into the planet. It was already happening before us. And then we came in and they said, okay, now you're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to behave this way. No, don't do that. And then we got some people, good morning, Dylan. Some people got abused. Okay. And this is where we have childhood traumas show up, right? Because some kids were maybe abused for not doing things a certain way, or the parents didn't know how to tell them. And so they were abusive. Some parents said, get away with it all. And then so you have a culmination of different parenting styles and programming. But overall, in society, there are certain moral principles and rights and wrongs, okay, that we can identify. Now, I had a friend yesterday who came over and talked to him for a while and asked a question of, well, what is a right? What is a right? And, I had to think about that. It made me ponder a little bit. What is a right? What is a wrong? And a right is when you do things with good intentions and a good heart. When you put your energy out there with good intentions, not to harm others, okay? Good morning, Brittany. When you put your heart out there in good faith, right? Or you say, I'm here to support and add value. Now, this may get distorted. That's a possibility. But as long as you know that your intentions are righteous, right? You're doing it with a good heart. You're not doing it to harm. Now, if you go in intentionally for revenge to seek harm, that's a wrong. Why? Because really you're hurting others. You're saying, I'm going to hurt others. Now, here's the deal. You could do either. And if you went into neutrality, you would say nothing's right, wrong, good, or bad about either one of those. But what end up happening are the consequences of that. Now, that isn't karma. Karma is the action that we take. So karma, people use karma wrong all the time. And it drives me bonkers because they're like, oh, karma will get them. No, 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 no. It's not how it works. Karma is action. Okay. And I asked my friend who's in India, he's a Hindu. And I asked him what karma was. And he said, it's not to be used to harm others. We don't say, oh, you're going to get your karma. But if something bad does happen to us, we recognize it as karma. And we just say, oh, that's the karma. It's okay. This too shall pass. But we always wish good karma for people, or that they run into good karma or good energy. Now, the reality is it's just the action that we take. So in our rights or wrongs, we can say, I'm going to do right, I'm going to do wrong. Okay. In rights, I mean, we don't seek to do harm. So we go into it with good intentions. When we do this, we can sleep at night. And it's really for the benefit of our own well-being. Or we could go and do wrongs. And if we go in and do wrongs, we can't sleep at night and we get sick. That's why people get sick. That's why you have these people who do like white collar crime, right? Forever. And they're like, well, they don't get in trouble. Maybe they don't. Okay. Good morning, Raphael on Podbean. Thank you for engaging. I like when people engage on life either way. But when people do this, let's say white collar crime, right? And some of these people have been holding on to this for so long, they end up killing themselves. Like that's how bad it gets for them internally in their mind, because you can only hold on to that unless you're a sociopath that doesn't feel or totally can justifies why it's okay to harm people. There are people out there that have this programming in them, but the majority of humanity understands and has a conscience that says, this isn't right, and I love, and I don't want to harm. Most people aren't there just to do harm, okay? If they feel justified in their harm and they go out and do it internally, good morning, Heather, there's something internally that knows that that's not what they're there to do, is to go out and harm others, right? Good morning, Auntie Christine. Okay. So the domestication is so strong that at a certain point in our lives, we no longer need anyone to domesticate us. We don't need mom or dad, the school, or the church to domesticate us. We are so well trained that we are our own domesticator. We are auto-domesticated animal. We can now domesticate ourselves according to the same belief system we were given and using the same system of punishment and reward. We punish ourselves when we don't follow the rules according to our belief system. We reward ourselves when we are good boy or good girl. So looking at the systems, now I love how this book breaks it down very fundamentally, very, very simple. How do we reward ourselves, and then how do we punish ourselves, okay? So when we go against our intention, good morning, Sandra, are the way that we were actually programmed. Let's say, for instance, we were told that that was bad. Okay, stealing is bad. Then we go and we steal. There's a level of guilt, okay, for most people that they feel. And then we punish ourselves by our internal thought system. I'm terrible. I'm awful. I'm horrible person. I suck. Whatever words come up in that act that we did. When we do good, right, we want to cheer ourselves on. We're like, this is so awesome. I'm great. I'm blah, whatever. Maybe we get ourselves a ice cream to eat because we're going to reward ourselves for doing a good job. Or like, for instance, my niece who got good grades, my mother was like, oh, I'll take you, because you got good grades. So she rewards her. And so she's like, ooh, I want to continue getting good grades, right? And then she's like, how am I going to reward myself? Maybe I will, I don't know, buy myself that lip gloss I wanted. Okay, so those are just examples of what we do to punish ourselves or not punish ourselves, and reward ourselves, right? When we do things that are good or bad. So we are at the fundamental level programmed. Now, people might deny this or say, I'm not programmed, I'm not an organic computer. And the reality is, yes, you are. You are. And when you surrender to this idea and recognize it, then we can put the awareness around it. And in that awareness, we're able to reshape the things that serve us and don't serve us in our life. Does it serve us to ABC? Well, not really. It's not serving me anymore. And if I switched it, would it do harm? No. So can I believe this? Yes. And then we start to switch and shape the way that we perceive our world around us. But we become programmed by the people who train us at birth, right? And that's why I would say if someone's a sociopath, or if we have these people who are doing what I say are they're very disgusting to me, right? That's my judgment. Yes, that's Natalie talking of like, murders or rape or sex trafficking or any of these bigger things that happen within the world, right? That who knows how these people, good morning, Luis, were programmed. They were programmed in some way to think that that was okay, to think that that is, yeah, that's good. Let's do that. And then be justified and okay with that. I would say that most people that live in that way don't feel good about it. And I didn't even know that there was a case going on with a girl who was sex trafficked, who shot the person who, her predator, the person who took her, and then she's now in trouble for it, which is like for killing him. And so we were talking about that and these bigger issues that happen in the world. How do we make sense of them, right? And I say always bring it back to love. Well, how can you love someone who maybe did that to you? How could you love someone who harmed you? How could you love somebody who harmed another person? But we don't understand their programming. And at the base level, if we were programmed in love, we could dissolve those issues with individuals, because I bet you nobody looked at them with pure love in their heart. And if they did, they didn't recognize it because they weren't programmed to understand that. Because if they did, if there's a little ounce of love in their heart, they'll have a conscience, okay? And that conscience will allow them to say, oh, that behavior was not correct. There was something wrong about it. There was something that wasn't right internally and by your own principles. That's why setting your own morals and principles is critical. How do you choose to show up in the world? What will you compromise and what won't you compromise? So that's what I do. I write down a list of things that I will and will not compromise in my life. Like, I'm not going to compromise the set of principles that I live by. One of them being authenticity, speaking my truth. Now, speak my truth, but another thing that I do is personal responsibility. So not just speaking my truth as though I'm blaming everybody if something shows up that's uncomfortable, but rather taking personal responsibility and being able to communicate that out. So there are a set of principles that keep me in moral standard or moral compliance for myself, right? I have a set, think about the laws, right? There's been given spiritual laws that have been given from generation to generation. What are those laws? Why do we follow them? Why do we talk about them? Why are they still being talked about thousands and thousands and thousands of years later? Why? If it didn't have any meaning, why would it still be talked about? Well, partially because it's like you get to be programmed with some moral justice in your heart so that you understand what's right and wrong and that you can feel it and you can say, ah, and mostly for ourselves so that we can walk in our birthright. It's what it allows us to do. It allows us to be that extension of God, the God within, and to magnify that outward. Without that moral compass, we would be chaotic and all over the place, not really serving humanity, but harming in some way. Okay. The belief system is like a book of law. I just talked about that. That rules our mind. Without question, whatever is in that book of law is our truth. We base all of our judgments according to the book of law. Even those judgments go against our own inner nature. Even if the judgments go against it, I feel the decisions they made after being raised to know right from wrong. That's right. Against our inner nature. Okay. Good morning, Nadan. Haven't seen you in a while. And good morning to those on Podbean. Thank you for being here. Okay. Even moral laws like the 10 Commandments are programmed into your mind, which I just talked about in the process of domestication. One by one, these agreements go into the book of law. And these agreements, rules are our dream. Okay, think about it this way. The 10 Commandments is a book of law. Think of the Bible. I've told people, read the Bible from the perspective of a law book. It is a book of law, right? It's also a historical book of accounts of what happened, right? It's a story. Now, the book of law are the laws that sort of govern our own self, not the laws that man has made, but there are higher laws at play that we can pull from and live our life by. Okay. Good morning, Michael. Michael and Michael. What laws am I talking about? Natural law. Where natural law means we don't create the laws that define nature. We only observe the laws that define nature. Things are happening organically without us. Now, I can say without us, but I guess we need an observer, right, to observe it. So it could be we participate. We participate in the viewing of these natural laws that unfold. Our very observation is co-creating with natural law, that we can view it through our senses. Now, I was listening to something and we only think with our five senses when there's 300 and I don't know how many senses in our body. But we only right now are using five, right? Our hearing, our eyesight, our nose, our mouth, our touch. And that's how we're viewing the world. And we can see natural law unfolding itself over and over and over again. Part of the laws that we've created by man were based on natural law. But then what happened is we try to transcend or we try to act as above. Good morning, Dan. And we try to rise above that, right? And we try to think that we are above what? Natural law. cosmic law. We are not. Okay. There are a set of principles that govern this dimension, this world. Even mathematics is one of them, frequency and vibration. All of these different things are part of natural law. So we can look at the system and say, how are we programmed into that? Now, are we going against that? Are we going with it? Part of the patriarchal model is to somehow go against that by force. Now, is it right, wrong, good, or bad? No, but it is happening, okay? And what we're looking for and what's happening and what's being called upon is the divine feminine principle. What does that mean? That means that there gets to be some emotional opening, right? So that we can engage in a new way of engaging the world. By force doesn't work, okay? And another thing that my friend was talking about is really good. I haven't seen my friend in a long time. It's been some time, but our conversation very engaging, always enlightening. We always learn something new, always. Well, that's every day, but it was, the absence of or the theft of, and it was kind of funny because the perspectives are pretty simple in the law. So, like when you think of murder, it's the theft of life, right? It's like someone's taking someone's life. They stole their life. Okay. When someone coerces something, they're taking their freedom, right? Or free will, the theft of their free will. So when we start to look at this, we're saying, what is being taken? Well, something that's being taken from someone, right, is the theft of. And that's the simple law. That's simple law. Taking from something. Good morning, Doreen. Good morning, Carol. So we have those laws and we live by our laws. So now what are your laws? What are your principles? What won't you compromise? And just a while ago, I told you I was going through some pretty chaotic, crazy things. And then my ego came out a little bit. And I told you guys, here's the ego speaking, right? The ego was like, I'm going to come get these people, right? I'm coming. That was the ego. But I also said I wasn't going to be bought off. So that's another thing. You cannot buy my principles. I stand firm in them. They're not for sale. In other words, when you're in a situation, and this is from the political arena. Good morning, Ruby. The political arena, okay? In the political realm, we see that people buy off each other's principles all the time. Well, they're stabbed in the back, they're this and that and the other. No, this is not made up, you guys, okay? People fear for their life. We have a whistleblower right now that doesn't want to show himself. Why? They don't want to show themselves because what happened if they showed themselves? They would threaten their family. And people don't believe this. And they're like, well, they're protected. No, they're not. By whom are they protected? But they're standing firm in their principle, right? They whistleblowed because they saw something wrong and they're like, you can't buy me off. You're not going to buy me off. And so, good morning, Yossi. That's happened with me. People trying to buy off my principles. Like, oh, money's more important than my moral compass. I don't think so. It's not for sale. That's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to get at. Is that when we have, so here's the thing. When we have a set of principles that we live by. Now, do you even know what they are? That's my question to you. So those on Podbean as well. Do you know what your principles are? Do you live by a set of principles? Now, these agreements could be principles that you live by. And Dan, thank you for sharing. I live and love the 4 agreements. And so, again, do you have a set of principles? This is a platform to start somewhere if you don't, okay? So you say, here are my principles. I live by a set of principles. Now, if somebody, let's say, for instance, you're sitting there, and I'll tell you in the political arena, this happens very often, when you speak up and you speak what you feel is right internally, and you call people out and say, no, that's not, you're not matching what you're saying. In other words, you're telling me that you're going to do this and then we're not going to do that. But we're saying we're going to do that. But we're just lying so that we can take something without really doing something. In other words, you want me to lie, right? That's what you're saying. No, not going to happen. Because at the end of the day, I'm here to serve the community. And if that's not happening in this, I'm going to speak up. Now, is that right, wrong, good, or bad on either parties? The other party who is trying to buy off principle, like, here, let me just shove money down your throat and buy you off and get you to just do what I tell you to do and buy your principles. Now, that's what that means when you sign a deal with the devil, is that you're saying, okay, I'm going to compromise what I know to be true and right for me. So how can you trust yourself? How are you going to trust others, or how can you trust yourself? I trust me. I trust my relationship with God and my intentions. And I know when my intentions are right, and I'm not going to compromise that principle. So I will say, no, keep your money. Why? Because God is abundant. God is enough. God has more than you could possibly imagine. And if you've ever read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, which by the way, I should probably read on this, you'll know that there's cheese in another doorway and a bunch of it. Okay. You guys don't understand that connection. I live and love God. Yes. If you guys don't understand that connection, read Who Moved My Cheese. You'll understand that we can sit there reaching for scraps and fighting over scraps. Or we can say, you know what, you fight over scraps. I'm not going to compromise my principles. I know that there is enough. There's an abundance on this planet. That when I dropped into this existence, there was enough, and there is enough for everyone. And so then I maneuver and I pivot and I don't stay there and I move forward because I know that there's another pocket somewhere, and they're going to value me and my principles. There's a place where people will value me and my principles and what I stand firm on. So I'm not going to compromise or waver in my principle. But those are my own internal truths, my own internal laws. So you guys get to figure out, what are those for you? What are you willing to compromise and not compromise? Like, I'm not willing to compromise my authentic truth. I'm not willing to compromise my vulnerability and being able to speak openly. Okay. I am also not going to harm people or take from. If I feel like there's harm in there, okay, if I feel like there's harm in there, then I need to step away and I need to speak up in the face of wicked, right? Well, what does that mean in the face of wicked? When I see that there's something that's not right, there's something off, I'm going to speak up. Now that pisses people off. It's not the easy path, you guys. It's not an easy path to stand up. Why do you think the whistleblower is staying silent by themselves? Because it's not easy to stand up. Because it's the harder path to take. It's easier for people to just say, yeah, I'll sign on the dotted line. Give me the money. I'll play with you. I'll play in the sandbox. But to be outside of that is harder. But those are governed by God's law, because God's law, look at Jesus Christ. Look at Buddha. Look at Gandhi. Look at Mother Teresa. We could go on and on and on with all these people who lived in altruism, and they were rejected by society at the time and later looked at as these people who, wow, I really want to strive to be that. But it's not easy because people think, oh, it was flowers and they put Jesus in flowers on a pedestal. No. Okay, when we talk about the Jesus story, think about it. He was crucified, for heaven's sake. Plato, crucified. Da Vinci, crucified. They would have killed him if they really found out what he was doing. We could go on and on and on in history. Crucified. I get crucified all the time. People who speak up and speak their truth are crucified all the time. If they weren't, we'd have more people going around and speaking up, but people are too afraid to speak their authentic truth. Why? Because they're afraid they're going to get crucified. And you will. And I've had to tell people that. That's okay, crucify me, but I'm not going to waver in principle. Period. End of story. Okay? Okay, corporations. Okay, so this is from Dan, for those on Podbean. Dan says, corporations are creating laws to outlaw protesting and freedom of speech currently, so we can do about that when we face jail time for principles we live by. And that's the thing. There's jail time that's been taken These people will do jail time protesting. Okay, let me reread it again. What can we do about that when we face jail time for the principles we live by? The majority of people can be bought. It's sad but true. God, that was my Auntie Christine. God will always have above law. He was murdered. Good morning, Roberto. Yes. So that's a great question. Is what happens when you stand in principle and then they arrest you? For me, I live by God. So if somebody came and arrested me, I'd be like, okay, go ahead. I know who I am. And you can't take that away from me. And I think that's the biggest piece of the entire story is, do you know who you are? And if you know who you are, you would stand firm in that. And you wouldn't be afraid of anything that came. Now, there's fear because people fear death, but we're immortal. People don't understand what that means, immortal. It means that our self, our essence will always continue. Okay. We're thinking about history right now. Well, we say, does Jesus Christ still live? Of course, through our stories. That piece never died off. Does Gandhi still exist? Of course, through our stories. Um does even so both sides, right? Not just the altruistic people, but even the murderers, the this, the that, they're immortal, right? It's continuing. We talk about it. We've placed it on the internet. My consciousness is going to extend because I talk all the time. I have all these things in cyberspace floating around. You guys post on Facebook. What do you think that is? That's an extension of who you are in some form. You are immortal. You will not. Good morning, Charles. Good morning, Roberto. You're not. You're everlasting. You're forever. Now, here's the deal. I have a fear, not of death, but the way that I'm going to die. I don't want to feel pain, right? Pain is a scary thing for me. That's the thing that scares me. Okay. Death itself doesn't scare me of this human body because this human body is so fragile, but our spirit is so strong. Okay. Now I want you guys to think about spirit being strong because when we're broken to pieces, but we know we've done the right thing, and we know in our heart of hearts that we're connected to God, and we know that we're loving and that we're doing it in the name of love, and we're doing it and all this, and we're broken down and people are slashing us, we still have our spirit. You can't break a spirit that's firm and grounded in principle. That's why we stand up and fight now, knowing we can face jail time or even be murdered. Many of us know what we stand for. Yes, Stan, thank you for sharing. Auntie Christine, I totally believe God's law, which are the 10 Commandments, but my belief. Yes, and God's law is natural law. Just so you know, it's based on natural law. That is God's law. Natural law is God's law. There is nothing above it. But we've tried. Let's see. I have some people on here Podbean, so I'm just going to read what people are saying, and you guys are welcome to join in the conversation. Dan, I actually reconnected with God while I sat in jail for false accusations. Yes. Ruby, remember who you really are. Good morning, you beloved one. Above all experiences, other worlds exist, the real you. Sparkling bee of light. Yeah, it is, let's see. Vibration of love that can transmit hardened hearts by the ego and struggle for survival on earth. Yes, humanity thirsts for love and peace within. The majority of people don't respect God's law today. Okay, yes. So law is, oh, I didn't read all this other stuff you wrote, Ruby. Sorry, I didn't see it. Somehow went. So being the light when you may have forgotten, it is time to remember who you are in the process. The Christ light, beloved one, yes. Know that you are allowing yourself to be uplifted beyond the appearance and the vibration of everyday world in which frequently you find yourself immersed. You are rising above the pettiness and competition. You are becoming like a gentle, pure drop of celestial rain to wash away the pain and cleanse the hearts of others. You're becoming one with a higher vibration of love that can transmit hardened hearts and the ego and the struggle for survival on earth. Yes. Thank you, Ruby. That's a beautiful. I love it. And yes. So thank you guys for participating and putting your beautiful words in here, because that's exactly it. It's we bring ourselves back to love, and that's what we're thirsty for. We're thirsty for, how do we find ourselves again? How do we find out who we are? We start off with principles and practices. That's why this is a practical use. We could sit here and talk about the book, but what are you doing in your life? What are you practicing to get there? Or are you not practicing? It takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's a committed practice. It doesn't just, oh, one day I'm going to practice and that's it. And then I'm good. I'm enlightened. No, you're not. There's no such thing. And I call bullshit. You can't. I know, I've been doing this my whole life. I've been on this journey since I was a little girl, and I'm still on the journey. It doesn't end. We're unpacking, we're unfolding, we're experiencing this dream, this illusion. And as we're here, we recognize new things. We undiscover, we unfold, we rediscover. We start to look at things that had been here in the past and say, oh yeah, that thing. That reminds me of who I am. That reminds me that I am God. Reminds me that I am God in motion. Reminds me that I can co-create with existence. Reminds me that I am a creator and that I can create without harm. But we have a bunch of people here who want to do harm. Why? Control. Why? Power. Why power? Because they think that they're above natural law, and you cannot be above natural law. Okay, we were born into God's sovereignty, but then we were sold to the corporation of the United States. Yes, we were, of America, as soon as our parents signed our birth certificates. Yes, very good. And they are conditioned to follow man's law over God's. Yes. Hi all. Yes, and there was a saying, I believe, in the Bible where it says it was sin to breathe life into a dead entity. And people thought this was necromancy, right? Like, oh, we're going to raise the dead from the graves. And from the commerce perspective, it's breathing life into a dead entity, right? Which is a corporation. Think about it, dead entity. And then we breathe life, and then we let that corporation act as though it's a human. But there's nothing there. We are the magnificence. We are the abundance. We are the ones that create. Who created the buildings around us? We did. Not the money, not the corporation, but we as people. We put our brains and our sweat, our blood and tears into building things, right? And co-creating with what was already here. We are the abundance. Good morning, Gloria. We are the ones who are co-creating with the God. Now, my question is, are you building and co-creating with God in your divine birthright or not? Are you truly doing what your heart desires or not? Are you just plugging into the system and going along with what you were molded to be and told to be? And now you have to do that because that's what society says, and that's what you have to do. But something inside says, this isn't right, doesn't feel right, it isn't right for me. How do we begin to extend our divine self outward? How do we dig deeper into who we are? We are all eternal souls, spirit souls. Yes, Dad. Thank you. How do you begin to tap into the deeper essence of who you are? Do you even remember who you are? Or do you just go through the motions and whatever, life is whatever, I have no purpose, I don't know what my purpose is, blah, blah, blah. Or do you say, you know what, I have purpose, I have meaning, I have a reason to be here, I want to leave a legacy. I don't know what that legacy is, but I'm going to figure that out. I know what my legacy is. So it doesn't matter. My legacy isn't your legacy. So who cares? What is your legacy? I can say my legacy in one sentence, big deal. Does that support you? Well, yes, because I'm here to support you guys into figuring out for yourself. So practice. Ask yourself those deeper questions. What are my principles? What are my divine principles? What will I not compromise in principle? What will, if they gave you you wouldn't even take a trillion gazillion dollars. Okay, I don't even know if that even exists. Okay, but if they said, "Look, I'm going to give you this gazillion trillion dollars for you to compromise your principles," that's like signing the deal with the devil. That's what that means. It's like you're saying, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to compromise my principles." Now, would you do that? What won't you compromise is the question. What won't you? What are you going to stand firm on? And it doesn't matter how much they give you, how much they this, how much they that, that you're going to say, nope, not going to do it. Just not. No. Because guess what? I've slept on a couch. I've slept on a floor. I've slept in a tent. I don't even care. Why? Because I was taken care of, because God was with me always, and I was protected and I was safe. Had everything I needed. Don't need fancy cars and all this. Doesn't mean we can't have it. Doesn't mean God doesn't want us to have it. Doesn't mean that we can't have nice things, but we are not defined by our things. And the moment that we do that and we would sell ourselves off for these big things, we have compromised our own personal integrity, our own spiritual integrity. How much are you willing? So that's what you get to ask yourself. What are those things? Okay, we were born, Dad, we were all born into God's sovereignty, but then we were sold. Oh, yeah, I already read that one. Oops, sorry. I see you. We're all okay. This is what Dad says. It was on Podbean. Are we working towards enhancing our soul or just enhancing our temporary lives here on earth? Exactly. For me, I will never compromise my beliefs. Yes. What are your beliefs? And that's what the Four Agreements is asking you. It gives you a set of beliefs you can live by, but here's the deal. And it's great. If you live by these Four Agreements, when we get through them, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, good. But the reality is, what is true for you? What are your principles? What do you stand on? And yes, I'm going to ask you a trillion gazillion questions, because people will be like, well, I don't even know. Well, I didn't even think about that. How can you stand firm in principle when you don't even know what your principles are and you haven't even defined them? You know, say, well, my principle is vulnerability. Oh, what does that even mean? What does that mean to you? Vulnerability. What does it feel like? What does it feel like to be vulnerable? What does it sound like to be vulnerable? So questions, right? I don't have the answers for you. I have a lot of questions for you, but really I have no answers, because my experience of vulnerability is completely different than yours. The way I experience it in the body shows up different than the way you experience it in your body. But when we get clear and we have clarity around these things, good morning, Carlos, and we start to understand, oh, yeah, there's some clarity in that. Okay, vulnerability feels like that. Oh, yay, okay. Now I can utilize this experience. And I know when I'm feeling it. I know when I feel rejection. I know what that feels like. I've gone through it. Go through the fire. When people say go through the fire, what does that mean? That means that you feel everything that comes with it. And it might feel like shit. So what? Feel it. Because at the end of that, what? At the end of feeling crappy sometimes feels greatness, right? You're like, yes. Like I've told you guys, I love rejection. Good morning, Diana. Why do I love rejection? I love rejection because guess what? I use all that energy to go work out. I use all that energy to create my company. I use all that energy to give back to humanity. And I use all that energy to love myself, because it's a self reflection of like, oh, yeah, rejection, self acceptance. Yay. Now, what is it for you? Of course, we are all different. Yes, we are all different. And that's what this platform is designed to do. Not tell you how to do, not tell you what to do. I mean, I'll give advice, but it's up to you. You take it or don't take it. It doesn't matter to me. What matters at the end of the day is you figure it out for yourself. You figure out what is your firm principle you're going to stand on, what you're not going to compromise. And if you don't do it, fine. My question to you, is that working out for your life? Is it working for you? Are you living are you living your best life? Are you not living your best life? Okay, that's what Spirit and Coffee is about, right? Dan says we are rising our vibration up correctly, meaning we are first tuning up the instrument's body, making it perfectly in intoned before we can vibrate and sing our ultimate frequency and vibrational energy. Once we are intoned, I think that's how I'm saying it right. Our vessel that we can then plug into the amplifier, broadcast out to multiverses. Yes, my belief in my religion. Good morning. Of course, yes, that things start to turn around when we least expect it, leaving our jobs, some quick changes happen in our lives you're not expecting, but actually it's something that we have played. Oops, sorry. Trying to read this on Podbean. I apologize. This is coming from Ruby. Compromising what others tell you need to do, or your boss, or whatever the case may be. Maybe he's providing you, walking the path of truth for yourself. You may think you lost a lot, but you don't gain much more. Your life, and then the blessings come back in. Yes, at my age, I've been done. Okay, so Manti Christine says, at my age, I've been there, done that too many times. I don't feel you're telling me what you do. That's not what I meant. Oh, I don't feel you're telling me what you do. That's not what I meant. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean, Auntie Christine, but yes. So again, let's see what this is. Things change, things shift. When we become more aligned and in tune with our divine birthright, we start to get super uncomfortable. Okay, and that uncomfortable is good. But most people, once they start to feel the uncomfortable, they go back to the comfortable because they're like, oh no, oh no, oh no, I did the wrong thing. Now, here's the deal. And you're right. When we start to be on the same frequency, the universe, okay, the way it works is that our truest heart's desire is always trying to be manifested. We're always trying to create our greatest desires and passions. And sometimes we fail, and some people take it worse than others. And, you know, they fail and they don't want to keep going, or they give up, or they're like, I'm just going to go back to that 9 to 5 job because that's, you know, I'm just going to go back to where they treated me like crap because at least I was getting money, whatever it is, right? And then what ends up happening is the universe itself will force us into submission if we don't do it ourselves. So we have to experience the uncomfortable. That is part of the equation. That is part of the equation, the uncomfortable. And that's the part people don't talk about. Everybody's like, oh, like, okay, I'll just give you an example. One of my family members came to me, right, and said, you know, I have this question about this and that and the other. And, you know, I just want to be a friend to this person. And I don't really like them and this and that and the other anymore. Okay, so it's my niece, I'm just going to say it. And I don't really like them, this boy. And I said, okay, you don't like them, huh? Okay. So we get talking. And then, right? And then what happens is I say, okay, I need you to be honest. Dig deep. Do you still like this person? Well, good morning, Jose. Yeah, I do. I said, okay, here's the deal. We cannot pretend. This is the problem. We sell it on ourselves. We lie to ourselves about how we feel about things. And we think that lying to ourselves or stuffing it down, pretending as though it doesn't exist, is going to make it go away. That is not how it works. And that's what they tell you. You read these self-help books. Oh, just put your mind on something else. But guess what? It's in the subconscious mind. And all you're doing is sweeping under the rug. You're spraying some perfume on the caca that you swept under the rug. But guess what? It still smells like doo-doo. It's still going to be doo-doo. Okay? Sorry. And it's the truth. It's still, if you sweep it under the rug. So you don't sweep it under the rug. So I said, okay, when you're honest with yourself and you accept that you still like this person, or when you're honest with yourself and you are feeling a certain way, like I'm still angry at this person, I'm still mad at them. Yes, I'm still, okay, let that come out. Now, where that comes out and where you place the energy, You're stuffing it down because there's a fear somewhere. With her, it was a fear of rejection, that if I like this boy and I continue talking, he's going to continue to reject me. But if I pretend I don't like him, then it's not really rejection because I don't like him. And I've lied to myself that I don't like him. Rather than saying, okay, I do, I'm going to get rejected because he doesn't feel the same way, and allow yourself to go through the rejection. That is going through the fire. Okay. So bringing up and surfacing those uncomfortable things and then dealing with them anyway, and looking at them and crying, do whatever you got to do. I told a person to go scream in their damn car the other day. Go to your car, roll up the windows and scream. I don't know. However you let out that energy is fine. Just don't harm somebody else. Redirect it into something, I don't know, writing music, writing a book, starting the company you said you were going to start, going to the gym, eating healthy, running, I don't know, get punching bag and do a punching bag. Do whatever you need to do. Cry. I don't care what it is you need to do. Good morning, Orlando. Good morning, Marco. Whatever it is that you need to do to get that energy up and out and moving out of you. But lying to yourself, if you lie to yourself, you're going to lie to other people. To tune, oh, okay, thank you. Intonate. Oh, intonate. To tune up an instrument, it's the most optimal vibration, like tuning a guitar, making sure the neck is also adjusted. This is what we must do with our bodies. Yes, I agree. Become perfectly tuned with God. Yes, you're funny, so funny, but yes, so true. Because being uncomfortable makes you realize, okay, I'm better than that. I can receive more than, and I'm part of growing. We're always growing. Yes. Oops. Sorry, I think we're always growing no matter how old we are. I'm 60 years old and I'm always open to grow and learn. I've experienced a life, been so blessed by God, experienced things I've never thought I would. But being uncomfortable, you either stay there or cry about it, or you just get up and learn. Yeah. And you grow from it. And that's the important piece, is that we grow from it. Correct? Good. So thank you for all the engagement. I didn't realize how long I've been talking for 52 minutes. Wow, this is a very long podcast. So here's what I have. Here's being honest with yourself is the best way. Yes, be honest with yourself. So here's a couple of things. 1, be honest with yourself. 2, figure out what your principles are that you will not waver. Ask yourself deeply, be honest, would I compromise this principle? And if I am compromising it, why? And if somebody gave me gazillion dollars, would I compromise this? The answer is yes, then you're going to sell out on yourself. And then you're going to sell out on everybody else. So be honest with yourself. So write it down, things that you won't waver in. And then from there, look at that and start to practice living into that. Start defining, what does this mean for me? Get clear about it. Or don't. It's up to you. But that is the homework I'm giving you guys. You guys can choose to do it or not do it. It's up to you. The greatest question I always ask for those who may not want to do it is your current life serving you? Is it giving you your greatest joy? And if the answer is no, then you need to ask yourself why. Why? Why wouldn't you do it? Okay. So there you go. There you have it. I got my coffee here. I'm going to take another sip. Yum. For those on Podbean, you're welcome to follow me live on Facebook if you choose. I have put the information there. But thank you for showing up today. Thank you guys for engaging. Perhaps we can have Dan and Ruby come on. I think you guys would be very good conversation starters, and I think you guys would love each other. And that would be nice to have more people engaged in Spirit and Coffee, which is what I'm putting out there to the universe to happen, okay? So I love you guys. Have a most magical, magnificent Monday ever, and I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. Bye.